Welcome back, guys, to Ace Attorney Investigations 2, Prosecutors Gambit, where last episode we continued our investigation into Delicia Scones' contest room after a brief encounter with our prosecutor foe, Manfred von Karma, exploring the whipped cream-filled area to find his creations were a bunch of fakes with now melting cream slathered all over. With a possible murder weapon on scene, we now speak to Delicia once more before more logical leaps. Literally about the temperature of the room. Miss Scone, why is the temperature of your room set to 68 degrees? Because I hate the cold, don't I, dearie? Besides, being chilly's no good for a girl. No respect for your craft? If I want to keep my fresh-faced complexion, I've got to be careful about these things. I mean, we know no respect for the craft is there because everything's fake. We ladies have to stay young, don't you know? How old is she really, though? That's what I'd like to know. It's not polite to speculate on a person's age, Eddie. But most of your work is made out of whipped cream. And whipped cream needs to be kept at 50 degrees or it starts to deflate. Is that so, dearie? Well, silly me, eh? I've only got it made of whoopsie. Wait, she really didn't know that? Lack of knowledge. Scone doesn't seem to know basic facts about making confectionery. You're the one of these things is not like the other thing. Basically, you shouldn't be here. How did you get invited? World-class confectioner my foot. Not only did she break the rules by using fake candy, she's ignorant of basic facts about her supposed craft. Miss Scone grows more mysterious by the minute. Truly? That gave us some more logic. That we have two pairs now. Confectionery research, but doesn't know basic facts about confectionery. Miss Scone appears to lack basic knowledge about how confectionery is created, and she says that she snuck into another entrance room for research purposes. Hardly the actions of a world-class confectioner competing for a major prize. Yeah, not how I picture a top pro acting. Does she maybe just lack a little confidence, or is she not actually a confectioner at all? Perhaps she had another agenda altogether. After all, we only have her word for it that she went into that room to do some research. Wait, you mean maybe she went in there to commit a murder? There's no way of saying so for certain just yet. But she is hiding something, that much I'm certain of. Right then, I guess it's time to link the two things that we think truly should be linked, but I was waiting to see if the investigation finished or not. Kind of in a way to see if I was wrong or not. It might be a leap to go, this is the murder weapon, but still. It is coming with a description of someone's blood on it. We could have done it all along. We know that the victim was struck and killed with something blunt, and we found blood on one of the lamps which has a smashed bulb inside. Could the lamp not have been the murder weapon? For sure, it could definitely do enough damage to kill someone. And its bulbs were smashed. You, science guy, did you finish analyzing the blood from the lamp yet? Yes, sir, just got done a minute ago, sir. The blood is the victim's, no doubt about it. There you have it. Salt lamp is probably the murder weapon, or at least was stained with the blood of the victim. So the murder weapon was hidden in Miss Scone's room. I'm beginning to think we may need to add her to our list of suspects. Oh wow, really? The absolute fake? Hey, investigation complete. Give me my misclick health back. That's enough investigating for now, don't you think? Yes, we've certainly found plenty of interest. Something's been bothering me for a while now. Mr. von Karma would have surely found the murder weapon when he searched this room, and yet he didn't arrest Miss Scone. Didn't even seem interested in questioning her. I think our first priority should be to find out what he's really up to. Oh, more of that voice. Detective Bad, I have a few things I'd like to ask Mr. von Karma. Me too. Him and Scone. Ah! How could you, Batty Bumpkin? So stop staring at me like that! It appears Detective Bad is just as suspicious of Mr. von Karma and Miss Scone as I am. Miss Scone, would you be so kind as to accompany us? Of course, dear. Where are we off to? to find Mr. Von Karma. Well, we're in the hallway. We're gonna find him. Do you know what really always trips my memory or like tries to get me to go, it's like I'm always wondering, because a lot of these Let's Plays are done years apart, right? I think the original Ace Attorney investigation was done 3 years ago now. The most recent one we done with the Great Ace Adventures, Great Ace Attorney. And of course, the original Phoenix Wright game we did how many years ago now? Is it even it might be a decade for all I know. Like 8 years, 7 years? How did I voice Von Karma back then? Of course, I could just check my own video, but then I'm doing it blind, so I don't expect to bump into Von Karma when I do. I'm bad again, voice 3 years ago, etc. Mr. Von Karma, we'd like to speak with you, if that's all right.
Judging by your faces, I'm guessing you found the murder weapon.
We did. It was in Miss Scones' room. You throw me, Manfred. Which means that Mr. Tangaroa should no longer be the only person of interest.
Ha! Nonsense. It doesn't matter where the weapon was found. Tangaroa is guilty. And as long as this is my case, guilty he shall remain.
How can you be so sure of Mr. Tangaroa's guilt? You have an explanation, I assume, for why the murder weapon was in Miss Scones' room.
Of course I do, and I'll be delighted to share it with you.
The murder weapon.
Tangaroa killed Frost with one of Scones' salt lamps in order to frame her for the murder. To complete the deception, he took it back to her room once the deed was done. After all, if it had been found near the victim's body, Tangaroa would have seemed doubly suspicious. A body may be hard to move, but a murder weapon, considerably less so. And that is why there was no piece of evidence on the scene that pointed to a particular suspect.
So is your assertion that Mr. Tangaroa took the salt lamp back to Miss Scones' room?
It is indeed. But it is more than an assertion. It is a fact, based on my own investigation.
You mean you have proof that he did so?
I don't need any such thing. What? If you have a rebuttal, I'll be happy to hear it. But I highly doubt you'll be able to fault my logic.
Sure.
Tangaroa killed Frost with one of Scones' salt lamps in order to frame her for the murder.
Hold it! So he took one of the salt lamps from Miss Scones' room back to his own.
Indeed. He prepared it beforehand, knowing that it would be the perfect weapon with which to kill Frost.
Well, he found the lamp in Miss Scones' room. Surely this cast Miss Scone herself in a suspicious light.
Perhaps if you would let me finish. Now, as I was saying, to complete the deception, he took it back to her room once the deed was done.
Hold it! You're talking about the lamp made of rock salt that was hidden inside the Candy Castle, correct?
Precisely. I was the one who found it. So be grateful. It's thanks to me you even have such a vital piece of evidence.
What made you go inside the castle in the first place, if you don't mind my asking? Good point. Maybe you just wanted to see what it was like in there?
Objection! Yeah. Fools! You think I went in there on a whim? I went in there because detectives are an incompetent lot, so I investigated it myself. But I had nothing to do with the initial investigation.
That's right. Detective Bad wasn't a part of this investigation until very recently.
If you want my trust, Detective, you'll have to earn it. And a good first step would be to stop wasting my time. Now, if you'll allow me to continue. After all, if it had been found near the victim's body, Tangaroa would have seemed doubly suspicious.
Hold it! But he came under suspicion anyway due to the body being in his room.
So why... Would you like to hear a favorite expression of mine? Even a dog could hold still and stay. Now let me finish.
If only I could say the same to you.
A body may be hard to move, but a murder weapon? Considerably less so.
Hold it!
So you think he hit the body in the chest but removed the murder weapon from the crime scene?
Yes, he foolishly believed his own creation to be the perfect hiding place.
Ah, I'm sorry. I had to help myself. I think you mean you couldn't help yourself, no?
She doesn't seem very sorry to me. In any case, the weapon was taken away while the body remained at the scene of the crime. And that is why there was no piece of evidence on the scene that pointed to a particular suspect.
Hold it!
But if there's no proof, how can you say for certain that Mr. Tangerow is the culprit?
Is that the best you could do at pressing me? Listen here, the presence of the body in Tangerow's room is in itself proof enough of his guilt.
Objection!
And you didn't find evidence pointing to any other possible suspects. Perhaps you should take another look. You might...
You really don't give up, do you? There was no need to take another look. Tangerow is guilty. End of story. If you insist on asserting otherwise, then show me some proof to back up your ridiculous claims.
I have to think back over the scene of the crime. If Mr. Tangerow really isn't guilty, then there must be something that points to somebody else. Over the scene of the crime. The victim's body was found in Samson Tangerow's room inside a chocolate treasure lid. The lid was closed until the ship collapsed. A part of the treasure chest that was covered in blood is missing. Every other item in the room is also missing a piece of itself. The cause of death appears to have been blood loss following blood force trauma. I guess what we're looking at here is the fact that, of course, an elf was missing a cloth. A cloth has found a different elf. Which statement, maybe? Pressing Mr. Von Karma on any of his statements won't have much of an effect, I fear. My only hope is to find a piece of evidence that contradicts his claims. So, we have the framing statement, which we're probably not going to be able to go against. Complete deception, you took back to a room once the deed was done. I mean, you could argue that you could maybe go with the rules here, but to be honest, but considering crime scene was mentioned in that last thing, this is supposition. A third statement. Body may be hard to move, but a murder weapon considerably less so. That's a true statement, I feel. So, again, it's something we don't target. That is why there was no piece of evidence on the scene that pointed to a particular suspect. Now, again, also, it's kind of like supposition, but, is it also to do with body language here? He looks like he kind of knows. The way he's grabbing his arm like that. Is it body language stuff we need to look at too? The luminous cloth. Special color changing cloth belonging to Scone. She has a roll. She's lost a roll of it along with the device that powers it.
Objection!
It's true that the murder weapon and the bloodstained chocolate were removed from the scene of the crime. But something else remained that does point to one person in particular. Take another look at the photograph of the body, if you will. The cloth covering the victim's lower half. Is that not one of the same luminous cloths we found in Miss Scones' room? What's that, dearie? One of my lovely colourful cloths? At the scene of the crime, you say? Thanks for admitting it.
Luminous cloth. Nonsense, I see no light to speak of.
I guess he doesn't know how it works. It may look like ordinary fabric at first glance, but attach one of these light-emitting devices, and the difference soon becomes apparent. Look at his face. I don't think he was expecting that. But the fact that the cloth can be lit up is neither here nor there. We have to show why it's important. One of the rolls of cloth from Miss Scones' room went missing, and if you look closely at the blue cloth in the picture, wouldn't you say it's clearly made of the same material, Mr. Von Karma?
Huh.
The sold lamp and the luminous cloth both belong to Miss Scone. And seeing as the body was wrapped in said cloth, surely even you have to admit that's suspicious. Mr. Von Karma, I think it's time to accept that a number of factors point to Miss Scone as a person of interest. Ah! Oh, nice catch. Greggy Pegleg, how could you? You're accusing me of all people? I'm not accusing you of anything just yet. But I do think you're hiding something. That's not...
Just to clarify, your assertion is that both the murder weapon and the cloth were in Miss Scones' room prior to the murder?
Exactly. Is something funny? That's a tisk, not a haha.
Only that you've walked so carelessly into my trap. Neither the cloth nor the murder weapon were in fact in her room. So sorry to have to break it to you.
What does he mean?
Tangaroa spotted them before the contest began and noted that the lamps and cloth contravened the rules. He subsequently confiscated them and took them to his own room for safekeeping.
What?
Then, after the contest began, nobody saw hide nor hair of Frost as he had secluded himself in his room. And the only person capable of entering his locked room was Tangaroa, possessing as he did the only key. And as you now know, he was also in possession of the lamp used to commit the murder. So you see, I have had everything I need to get Tangaroa convicted all along. Well, how does it feel to have lost to me before even setting foot in the courtroom?
This can't be happening. What? Wait, all our hard work was for nothing? Miss Scone, why didn't you tell us your stuff was confiscated by Mr. Tangaroa? Well, dear. Mannequin said that if I spilled the beans, I'd end up being the one under suspicion. Mr. Von Karma said that? And he wasn't wrong now, was he? You two accused me yourselves just a second ago.
Pathetic. Curse you, Von Karma. You led us to the murder weapon knowing we'd make certain assumptions as a result. One more thing, my pathetic friend. There are 2 and only 2 sets of fingerprints on the murder weapon. 2. Yes, those of Delicia Scone and Samson Tangaroa. No others were found. Tangaroa used the lamp he had confiscated to murder Frost, and was foolish enough to hide it in Scone's room without first removing his fingerprints. At this rate, no one will even need to testify. My perfect evidence will do all the talking for me as I secure his guilty verdict.
Objection!
But wait, what about the luminous cloth that was left behind in Mr. Tangaroa's room?
What about it? He probably meant to return it after disposing of the body.
I don't have enough to disprove any of what he's saying.
No more pitiful objections? Then get out of my sight and close the door behind you.
Mr. E! I'm not about to just give up.
I see you mean to waste more of my time. Bad? Escort them off the premises now. This investigation is not over yet.
Detective Bad.
What is the meaning of this?
Sorry, but I'm not in the habit of leaving cases half solved.
There's still one last thing from the crime scene we haven't identified.
He's right. We still have the evidence of somebody's activities to account for.
We can discuss your lingering doubts at our leisure, Detective. But whatever they might be, they're no business of the defense's.
Objection!
I beg to differ. There's a piece of evidence I'm still not satisfied about either. And I suspect it might be the same thing that's bothering Detective Bad.
What?
This is the yet unidentified something that was left in Mr. Tangaroa's room. I mean, it'd be this? Or this? I mean, it means that someone was on the scene and could have moved the stuff. More than necessarily this. I don't know. I mean, that's identified-ish. That's identified. I think it's more likely this because we want to put a certain someone in in the frame for having done it. Reasonable doubt that it wasn't just our defendant.
Take that!
There are finger marks on one of Mr. Tangaroa's creations. Literally the frame. Supposing they belong to the murderer, it could certainly explain how their prints didn't end up on the murder weapon. Oh yes, the gloved prints. There were no prints.
How'd you know so much about the crime scene? Because I let them look around.
Objection!
You let the defense examine the scene, Bad. Are you out of your mind? I don't remember you telling me not to. Ha! Insolent worm! You do well to remember this then, detective. The results of your next salary review is up to me. Whew.
Detective Bad's in trouble now too. I'm sure glad you're my boss, Mr. Edgeworth. As long as you remember that the results of your salary review is up to your performance on this case.
Ha! A mere attorney uncovering such a fact based on a cursory investigation. I'm almost impressed. But it's entirely possible that those finger marks belong to Tangaroa. After all, he wore gloves while preparing his creations.
Objection!
But can you prove conclusively that the finger marks are his? Furthermore, there is still something about Miss Scone that doesn't add up.
Is there? Or are you simply not prepared to admit defeat?
Oh, stop it, Greggy. Stop it. Stop it. Why are you being so mean to your poor old pal Delicia? I owned up to nibbling poor Sammy Pupil's sweeties. What more do you want? Yes, you were on the scene. When you shouldn't be, it's against the rules.
I don't want to have to make you a suspect, that much is certain. But you lied to us. And you're still not telling us everything.
Greggy, stop it. Stop bullying me.
I'm sorry, but you don't even know the temperature whipped cream should be kept at. What kind of professional confectioner doesn't know something as fundamental as that?
I'm sorry, alright? I'm sorry I'm just a silly, muddle-headed girl. What more do you want me to say?
I don't think you're muddle-headed at all. I think that you were never a confectioner in the first place. Enough! I'll thank you to keep your baseless accusations to yourself. Evidence is everything in a courtroom, in case you've forgotten. If you're going to accuse a witness of perjury, then I demand that you present something to back it up.
But this isn't a courtroom, is it?
Nevertheless,
what proof do I have that Miss Scone doesn't know the first thing about making desserts? If it's evidence, then it's just that it's fake.
Take that!
every single one of Miss Scones' creations break the rules of the contest. The offending items, the cloths and the lamps, were duly confiscated as we have established. And the witness did not go and bring them back to her room herself.
Objection!
But those weren't the only rule-breaking items in her room. What? The entire fantastical world Miss Scone created. Every last bit of it. It's all just a collection of plastic models slathered in whipped cream. That cream is the only authentic confectionery in the room. No real-world title contender would ever stoop so low. Is this true bad? Yep. Saw it with my own eyes. Stepped in it with my own shoes.
Did we finally convince him?
With her lies exposed like this, surely he can't continue to deny the facts. Miss Scone, your actions place you firmly on our list of suspects.
But no, dear, I'm no killer.
Then why don't you finally start telling us the truth? Who are you really? And why were you tampering with your rival's work?
All right. The truth is, I'm not the adorable little cook you see before you. I'm actually a pharmacist, if you can believe it. Yeah, okay. No, I can believe it, considering we found the cyanide. A pharmacist?
I can't blame him for being so surprised. This couldn't be further from what we'd imagined. So what's somebody in your line of work doing entering a contest like this one?
Well, I just love eating sweeties, if you must know. And Sammy Poople's sweets are the best, or so they say. I just had to enter. I didn't mean to end up making it all the way to the final. How? Even Mr. Von Karma is lost for words. How were you not figured out before, though? That's it. That's the only reason you're here. Yes, dearie, and it was worth it. Samson City Pan Sweeties are the tastiest treats I ever did eat.
And the finger marks? Were you the one wearing the gloves?
No, that wasn't me, dear. I don't even wear gloves.
Remember, Miss Scones' fingerprints were found elsewhere on Mr. Tangaroa's other creations. I'd say that points to her not having worn any gloves.
Exactly, Lambkin. Greggy Pegleg's got the right end of the stick. I'm an innocent woman.
Objection.
Is your head filled with cream too?
Sorry, mannequins.
Her head may not be filled with cream, but she's certainly no master of subterfuge. Miss Scone, were Mr. Tangaroa's works the only ones you sampled?
No, dear, I couldn't help myself. When I'd finished my afternoon tea, I tiptoed over to Chili Wink's room for a little taste too.
You were in the victim's room too?
Yes, dear. Nobody was in there, you see.
Quite possibly because the occupant was already dead.
I could only stomach one little bite. I never tasted anything so salty in all my life. So I had myself one of the tasty star-shaped bits off to the side to cleanse my palate.
You have quite the sweet tooth, don't you, Miss Scone? Indeed. What didn't she sample?
That's everything, I promise. Reggie Peggles, mannequins, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make a mess of things.
As long as what you've told us is the truth, that's all that matters in the end. Do not think for a second that this means I, myself, believe you. I'm going to investigate the victim's room now. We'll see how truthful you've really been after I'm through. Mr. Von Karma, please let us accompany you. I think it's only fair that we be allowed to investigate the veracity of our conclusions. Accompany me if you like, but don't think for a second you'll be permitted to conduct your own investigation. We'd like to accompany you all the same.
Right, let's see the room of the victim. Frost's room.
What is the meaning of this? When we got to Frost's room, we saw nada. It was all gone. The whole enchilada. Was this the work of the culprit? A dead body hidden in a chocolate chest. A murder weapon moved mysteriously to another room. This case was a real peach, and it was going to take some serious sleuthing to get to the bottom of it all. Is that a to be continued?
Oh, it is as well.
Are we continuing with that time? Or moving back to the present?
I don't know, considering that was Eddie Fender narrating after all. But I guess that ends another episode. Why not end on the cliffhanger that was presented us for you and for me? Such fun for the family. Nothing is anywhere in the state it's supposed to be. Things have been removed from everywhere or melted, as it seems to be here. Someone turned the heating up. Ice sculptures, whatever they were, just went away. Farewell. I mean, salt melts ice. Ooh, is that what you mean about tasting something salty? Maybe not temperature? Maybe salt? We'll have to see in the future. Will I remember that factoid? We need to find a killer still. And with Von Karma on the scene, wrecking my voice. We continue next time on Ace Attorney Investigations 2 Prosecutors Gambit. I'll see you then for more. And until then, I say, bye-bye. My God, his voice is unnatural.